Yo, this is BoxingWave back with another video. Today I'm going to speak about losses in boxing, okay? I briefly spoke on this in the Lomachenko Gary Russell Jr. prediction video the other day, alright? I spoke on it at the end, how people will perceive Lomachenko if he were to lose to Gary Russell. A lot of people feel that Lomachenko's career would be over. His second loss in his professional career out of 3 fights. Top rank is ruining his career. I spoke briefly on that day. I made the argument that his career won't be over, okay, because he's still very young in his career. I believe someone even in my comments said that Gary Russell Jr. should retire if he lost to Lomachenko. You know, for him to lose to a guy that only has 3 professional fights, he should just retire after losing. All right, undefeated Gary Russell Jr. At 26 years old should retire if he were to lose. You know, Floyd Mayweather. I hate to blame him for everything, you know, but he's changed the culture of boxing in a lot of ways. Okay, a lot of people view losses as the worst thing that actually happened. I mean, and loss, of course, a loss is bad because if you lose and you keep losing, you're never going to be the champion. You're never going to be on top. You know, I think most boxers, their dream is to be champion of the world. You know, you make more money when you're winning fights. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to take care of your family when you're making more money. You know, so you kind of want to keep winning, and you want to try to stay undefeated, especially when you go deep into your professional career and you receive your first loss after 20, 30 fights. You receive your first loss. And a lot of fighters don't come back from that. They don't return, and mentally they're not there after a first loss. And then a lot of people come back and they go on to have very successful careers, become Hall of Famers and everything. But today's culture, especially younger boxing fans, you know, that was brought up on, you know, during the Floyd Mayweather era of boxing, they feel like a loss is the worst thing ever. You know, when Pacquiao lost and got knocked out by Marquez, it was like, at the moment, you know, people felt that Pacquiao he doesn't even belong in the ring with Floyd Mayweather now. And he was forgotten, you know, he was slandered. We all seen the memes on the internet of him getting knocked out. And a lot of boxing fans today feel that if you lose, that's it. You know, they just feel like you got to be undefeated. You have to be undefeated. And that is not true. You know, I put up a picture as my thumbnail of this video of Bernard Hopkins because Hopkins lost his very first professional fight. You know, he lost it, and he's lost plenty of fights since then, you know. And look at where he is today. You know, he's still considered to be one of the top fighters even at 49. There's plenty of Hall of Famers, plenty of greats that's lost in a career. And for some reason, you know, the reason why I kind of blame Floyd is because Floyd is obviously the most successful fighter. If we're talking about finances, he is by far the most successful, richest athlete as far as a salary base in the world today. And people are going to be influenced by him. You know, people are going to follow his blueprint on success. They see him, they see the cars, the houses, the women. They want to follow that lifestyle. I mean, what boxer doesn't, you know? There's a lot of boxers that go on to lose. Just like someone said in my comments about Chad Dawson. I made a video about Chad Dawson and his return to boxing. And someone made a great point in my comments saying that, you know, boxers have it hard. You know, they lose fights and they have to go and find another job, you know, especially when they're still young in their career. You know, they're 30 years old. They're not 35, 40 years old where, you know, they're like Sergio Martinez reaching that point where, you know, he's on his way out, you know, and he's been making millions in several fights. A lot of these fighters, as soon as they reach to the top and they lose their chance and they keep losing, you never hear from them again. A lot of these guys still have families and they bought homes and stuff where they were expected to have a long some longevity in their career. They can't. They lose the house. They lose the cars. God knows what happens with their families. Their wife, the kids. You never know. It's really tough for fighters out there because that's all they become. They're either a fighter or they're working some regular job. They could go back to a supermarket somewhere and just work. Um, a lot of these guys don't have the finances, and they don't get the financial advisors and stuff right away, and they don't budget themselves and prepare for the future in the long run because they're having such a great career. They just think they're just going to keep winning and keep winning. They're not prepared for a loss. Okay, but as far as fighters themselves and their losing and how people perceive them, you still could be very successful even after the losses. Depending on what type of fighter you are. Especially if you bring a lot of entertainment to the ring. Terry Gotti, another guy that lost a lot of fights. People just kept wanting to see him fight. You know what I'm saying? Um, I was just making a video about Provatnikov. I think people are going to still want to see him fight. These are guys that are going to lose fights here and there. There's a lot of guys that's undefeated now that I think eventually when they step it up, they're going to lose fights. Will they still get other shots? Yes, but some of them won't. A lot of them won't. Uh, Floyd Mayweather said in an interview one day, I was watching, I forgot what interview he said, but back when, people wanted to really see him fight Pacquiao, and he was breaking down, the differences, the similarities and the differences between him and Pacquiao. And he was like, Pacquiao got losses. When Pacquiao lost 2-3 times or whatever, there's a blueprint on how to beat Pacquiao, but there's no blueprint on how to beat me because I never lost. He says stuff like that. And the fans, they're easily influenced by that because they see Floyd, they see the success. They want to be like him. They think in order to be successful, you have to keep winning. Okay, now, to be successful on a scale like he is, to make 200-300 millions, yeah, maybe in some cases, I mean, when you lose, you're not going to be in a position to demand as much money as you are with Floyd Mayweather. Okay, now I'm not blaming it all, his success, strictly on losses because there is entertainment value with Floyd Mayweather. People might say he's a boring fighter, but people like to see him fight. They like to watch him fight, but a lot of it does have to do with the fact that he's undefeated. But at the same time, there is entertainment value in his fights as well because there's other fighters that were undefeated that people didn't care about watching. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, I think fans need to stop. It's not so dramatic if a fighter loses a fight. You know what I'm saying? Especially if he's respected, especially the fight you lose to. If you go on and lose to a guy that goes on to beat a whole lot of people, a lot of top competitors, and then go on to be champions, and you lose to this person once or twice. We just saw George Groves lose 2 fights back to back. In the future, let's say he becomes some great super middleweight. Let's just say he does, and he does not lose another in another 30 fights. Let's just say he doesn't. Those 2 losses are on his record, and people are not going to remember that the first loss was a premature stoppage. People are not going to remember. They're just going to go on BoxRec and lose it, so that he lost to Carl Froch twice. Doesn't mean that he might not fill those 80 seats in Wembley Stadium again. You know what I'm saying? Fans just need to ignore the losses, all right? If you like the fighter, then enjoy the fight for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Is it going to be a good fight of styles? And just enjoy the fight for what it is. I think boxing fans complain about so many things that's going on, with the promotional companies, having beef with each other, and the fighters refusing to fight certain fighters. The boxing fans need to take a look at themselves and see why a lot of boxers are ducking certain fighters and why they are cherry picking and being so cautious in the career not to lose, because the fans, okay, believe that a loss means everything. You know, the fighters believe it, but the fans believe it too. And it goes hand in hand. It's both the fans and the fighters' fault. Okay, the fans, you can't just blame the fighters and the promoters. You gotta blame the fans too, because the fans is like, if he lost, he needs to retire. Like, what kind of nonsense is that? You know what I'm saying? I don't even think Sergio Martinez should retire unless he knows he's shot. You know, only he knows, you know, where he's at. I think he should have a couple of tune-up fights and see to make sure he's done. If he's shot, he doesn't look impressive in those fights. You know what I'm saying? I just think, you know, the fighters, yo, they go through a lot to go in the ring and entertain us. You know what I'm saying? They do get paid for it. We all know they get paid for it, but they go through a lot because if they fail, they still have mouths to feed and everything like that. And you guys gotta stop like bashing fighters for losing or saying if they lose this and this if they lose. You know why? This is why a lot of fighters are scared to get in the ring with others. You know what I'm saying? This is why. I know Floyd Mayweather has a lot, but this is not all his fault. It's not all his fault neither. You know, but you know, because he's just one guy. He's just one guy. You know, I don't want to blame everything on him, but I do think, you know, he's influenced how the mentality of people, the fighters, the boxer fans think today. Okay, even the guys that dislike Floyd, they are somewhat influenced by the things that he say because of his success. All right, so that's just my thoughts. Just a very random video that I wanted to put out there, and subscribe to the channel and let me know what you think.